Hello and welcome to a stroll through the stacks. What makes up a typical library day? I'm Erin Bark, and today we'll be discussing the process by which every query is answered at a library, starting from behind the scenes, right up to when our patron walks out the front door. You're probably wondering, wait, why would I need to know everyone's job? Isn't it their responsibility to know their business, just like it's my responsibility to know mine? Well, the short answer is yes. It's important to know your job inside and out, and to trust others to know their job as well. However, if you're at the reference desk, you don't necessarily need to know what form to fill out that renews your, let's say, US Weekly subscription as if you were in acquisitions. The same way a cataloger wouldn't be extremely practiced at dealing with angry patrons like someone at circulation. However, a library is an institution. By knowing the flow of information, the steps that it goes through to get to your spot, as well as where it goes after, we can understand the snags that may occur and how to help our fellow staff members if they need a little extra support. While LSS members don't need to know the intimate details of every step of everyone else's job, a basic understanding of these steps goes a long way towards smoothing out the wrinkles in your job as well as everyone else's. Now, before we do anything else, we need to know who we're serving here, what they want, and what we can provide to help them. These are the three aspects of a library mission statement. For now, let's assume we're a public library in any town, USA. Now, check out this hypothetical situation. A student asks for help with a research paper on the civil rights movement and the election of President Barack Obama. Note these highlighted areas. Each is an important piece of the puzzle. It tells us what information to provide, who it's for, and what that information is working towards. Now, given this puzzle, our first question is where to start to look for the answer. The answer is actually long before the patron ever steps through the front door. Our journey begins in collection development. Now, collection development takes analytical data of who comes into the library, considers what resources they prefer using, vectors that with current materials, and factors in what has been requested. In this case, we're collecting a broad spectrum of materials to anticipate the needs of any demographic patron, like most public libraries. This will include books on history or newspapers with current events. Now, without the collection development team, we wouldn't know what to provide our patrons, and that responsibility falls totally on acquisitions. That's a lot of data to sift through. And speaking of acquisitions, they find the things you're looking for and manages that based around established budgets. This includes subscriptions to periodicals as well as databases, books, and other media. In our case, they're trying to acquire books on events around the civil rights movement and possibly news articles relating to President Obama's election, either around the time that he was elected all the way through his final term. Now, without them, a library would basically not exist. We can't have just random newspapers showing up. How would we know where to keep things? How would we know if these are things that people want? Acquisitions and collection development have to work very closely together in order to make sure the library remains full. Now, cataloging is like that classic hacker in a heist movie. They have the codes to get you in. They create the interlibrary systems and the OPACs used by library systems to keep track of every resource on hand. In our case, they set up the OPAC so that students can look through the system and know exactly what they're doing. Without cataloging systems, we're just completely lost. A warehouse full of books. No one would be able to find anything. It would be complete and total chaos. Now that our prep work is done, we can finally help out our student. Reference is where you go to get research questions answered. Interviews conducted here are confidential and can help you discover sources you may not have previously considered. Now, for our research student, they would bring all these pieces of our puzzle together. A reference desk may be able to conduct an interview that finds out exactly what pieces of the civil rights movement they need, what kind of materials they're looking for considering Obama's election, and how to address where to find these materials in the system. Without a reference desk, eh, you can find materials, but it'll be really, really inefficient. That moves us on to resource sharing. In cases where there is better information at a different library, you can consider asking about interlibrary loan. For our purposes, let's say there's a book that talks about how history has changed between the civil rights movement leading all the way up to Obama getting elected. Exactly the book our student needs. Unfortunately, it's over at some other library in some other city. Considering how much time the patron has, we may be able to use interlibrary loan to fill out a request, have the book sent, and get exactly the material they need. Without resource sharing, without interlibrary loan, we are stuck with finite materials, only what we have on hand in our personal system. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. However, libraries are trying to be more helpful, more information. We are looking to create free information for everyone all the time. So let's try to find a way to use resource sharing to make that net just a little bit wider. Okay, the finish line is in sight. We just need to keep track of our materials now. We have the book that they need. We've checked out databases. The student has the articles and is ready to check out. Now, how to keep track of these things? Well, thankfully, circulation is on it. Circulation regulates the flow of materials and interfaces most with the public. This is a great job if you really like doing the interaction side of work in the library. Now, in our case, circulation can check out students' materials and let them know when they're due back, and keeps stacks organized so that materials can be found pretty easily. If materials are stuck on shelves in the back, that student, no matter how long they look, is never going to find it. Now, without circulation, you more or less have a reference library where materials can never leave. Unfortunately, that doesn't always work for patrons. So, being able to check material out is super important. And congratulations! You solved the student research paper puzzle. By knowing how to navigate each library department, you can ensure your future position as a library support staff member, whichever place you end up, will be successfully run. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.